first guitar lesson specifically with electric guitar, even guitar, if you're playing an acoustic guitar, these same things would still apply. The only thing that would be different is electric guitar, you're playing through an amp. I am using this Marshall MG 15 CDR. Looks like this. This Ibanez Geo was my first electric guitar when I think I got it when I was like 19. I guess anyways, let's get into our first guitar lesson. So first guitar lesson, I usually just go over the parts of the guitar because all of this just looks very confusing. Same thing somewhat still applies to acoustic guitars, just not the electronics, pickup switch and stuff. You can play with the pick and you can just hold it like this. I hold it like this. I usually hold it like this. The proper way is like that. But if you don't have a pick, you can just use your thumb and just strum that way. These are your tuning keys, so we tighten and loosen the strings. And keeping your guitar in tune is super important. If it's not in tune, your chords are just not going to sound good. What you'll probably need and are able to get when I was learning guitar, when I was like 8, 9 years old, I literally didn't play guitar because I didn't know how to tune my guitar, and nobody else in my family knew how to do it, so I was struggling for a while. But I use this Snark tuner, and I have it on my headstock all the time. And yeah, you'll need a tuner for your guitar. There's tons of different tuners, but this one is just the easiest. Some guitar kits, if you get a guitar kit, will come with a tuner. They all work the same way. Granted, mine is dying. Another tuner is you can download an app on your phone. There's tons of them. I use Fender tuner. It's okay, the iPhone tuners or your phone tuners. It picks up background noise, so if you're not in a quiet place and you're trying to tune, it's just not going to work. But yeah, Snark tuner, you can find that on Amazon. There's so many topics in this one video, but so when you pluck your strings, so first I'm going to say that let's just go over our strings. So on guitar, you obviously got 6 strings, and you're going to be looking at the strings from the bottom going up. So this first string, that's going to be your high E, so that's your first string. And then if you go up, second string, that's going to be your B string. Third string, that's going to be your G string. Fourth string, that's going to be your D string. Fifth string, A string. And then the one closest to you, your lowest, is your 6th string. That's also your low E. So you have, if you've noticed, you have a high E and a low E. So that will come in handy later on when you're learning how to play chords and you're identifying what chords you're playing based off of where you are on the fretboard here. But that is a little bit like more intermediate level. I usually do give acronyms to students to remember the string names. So a very common one that I'll go through is Eddie. So we're going to start with that 6th string. And so we'll go Eddie. The next one is going to be 8, A-T-E, Dynamite, Good, Bye, and then Eddie. So that's an acronym. I'll have it listed here that I put, that I give students to remember their string names. And that's honestly one that I use to remember my string names. And that will help you figure out how to tune. So I'm going to start with my first string, my high E. So when you're tuning, on your tuner, if your guitar is really out of tune, it's probably going to say something like F sharp or G sharp. And that is, I guess, hard to do as a beginner, so that you'd probably need a bit of help on. But hearing what the string is supposed to sound like can help you. So if I play my E and your E string is either too high or too low, is what you'll need to figure out. And your goal on your tuner is to, for your first string, is to get to your E. And the confusing part about tuning, I found for some students, is that there's lots of E's. There's different pitches of E's. So it's hard to like know which one, how. Yeah, I've been playing guitar for a long time, so I know these things now, but when you're first starting off, it's like if your guitar is probably super out of tune. So I would say to help, just listen to what my string is at, play your string, and then assess if it's too low or if it's too high. And then on your tuner, you're going to see either an arrow going left or going right. And there's usually like a middle marker, and you want to make sure when you're tuning that it hits that middle marker. Yeah, so tuning, just knowing what the strings are helps, and listening to the pitch of the string. Like I said, it's not an easy thing to do. Might need outside help for that part. What other parts of the guitar we got? So then these dots here, I don't know if you can see it. These dots here just tell us where we are on the fretboard. If you have an acoustic guitar or classical guitar, it won't look like this. It'll look a little bit different. Acoustic guitars still have dots on the fretboard. And then you'll also see dots on the side, on the top of your neck. And then this whole part, this whole back part, this long part is just called the neck of your guitar. And then, like I said, if you have an electric guitar, you'll have these pickups, or what these are called. And then this knob closest to you is your volume knob. The one farthest is like your tone knob, so you can make it just sound really rounded out. And then this here is your pickup switch. So this just changes which pickup you use in your guitar. So right now I have mine all the way up in 5th position. And that's just using my neck pickup. And I always play my neck pickup because that's just the sound I like. I always tell students that there's no right or wrong, like wherever you want your pickup switch to be, however you like it to sound is completely up to you. In between pickup switches, like your 2, 3, your 4 is combining your pickup switches. So that is the explanation on that. So you can play around with that, figure out what you like. Usually first guitar lesson I'll have, so I use to teach, this is the book I use to teach actually. I use Guitar for Kids. And the Hal Leonard Guitar Method Book 1 I also have. I also have this one that I used to teach. This book, Guitar for Kids, to me is less overwhelming than Guitar Method Book 1. Obviously, you don't have to get a book to like learn guitar, but I do recommend getting one just because it gives you great exercises, and I know that it's hard to like know what to do with a guitar book just by yourself. So that's why you got me. But this is what the first page of Hal Leonard Guitar Method Book 1 looks like, and I have the notes written in because I use this to teach. But it starts you straight off on first string, notes on your first string, which can be a lot to figure out, and reading the notes on here can just be instantly overwhelming, I found. So I'm going to show you this book. We're going to follow, I usually kind of follow this book, but every first lesson I've done has always been different because every person, student I've met, even if like whether they're an adult that I've taught or teach, or if they're a child or like a kid, everyone is different. This one, it starts you off with your C chord. Some students can go straight to C chord, and it's not bad. I do find some students it's a bit challenging because you're having to like press on your first fret, second string. Also, I forgot to say frets are these basically these squares in your guitar. So like this is your first fret, second fret, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and so on. So like for your C chord, there's a way you can play simple C. And you have your first finger on your second string, first fret. I don't know if you can see that. It doesn't sound that good right now because my guitar's out of tune. And that's usually first chord. Sometimes I'll teach students, but you know, everyone's different. So sometimes that doesn't go great, or it just doesn't, it's a little hard. So I usually like to teach E minor, but I go in between these two books when I teach, because in the back of this, it has a chord chart, which I think is great because you can go through the chords and see how to play them. Understanding the chord chart, I get, is a bit confusing. So usually, so I'll explain how those work really quickly. So your chord diagrams, so your X's at the top just mean you don't play those strings. The O's mean that those strings are open. And it's meant to look exactly how your fretboard would look if it was like tilted horizontally, if that helps. But first chord I usually teach is this E minor right there, because uses just your middle and ring finger, middle finger on your fifth string, second fret, and then your third finger is going to go right underneath on your fourth string, second fret. And it should sound like this. So you're going to add pressure in your left hand. Might feel uncomfortable, but just push through it, add pressure, and then very lightly in your right hand, you can glide all through all of the strings. And then I would just strum through that. We can just strum through that like 8 times. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And just strumming through it, practicing pressing on the fret is just a good way to get used to it. It takes about, depending on how much you practice, when I was like 10, I practiced for hours every single day. I really wanted to be able to play guitar. So it took, I think, about 2 weeks for my calluses to like build up. And then you just keep on playing and eventually you don't feel the calluses. So that is the difficult part about guitar, is it hurts your fingers, it's uncomfortable, and it can be really discouraging to keep playing. But just power through it. It's totally normal for your fingers to hurt. And if they do hurt at any point, push through it a little bit. And then if you just feel like your hands are hurting to the point it's super painful, then take a break. You don't want to like overstrain your wrist or your fingers. So yeah, keep that in mind. So yeah, E minor, great chord to learn. You want to challenge yourself a little bit, but you don't want to like challenge yourself so much where you just want to quit playing. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much first lesson, just kind of going over strings, how many strings you got, the names of them, how to tune. I didn't go too in depth on how to tune. I can probably make a video on how to tune your guitar if that's something I should do. Let me know in the comments. Always looking for video ideas. And yeah, sorry, I haven't posted in a while. Yeah, I've just moved and this is my new music space. It's in the process of being worked on. So yeah, if you are playing an electric guitar, you do need, that didn't happen. You do need an instrument cable, which is one of these, to plug into your guitar and into your amp, which this is your input jack on your amp, or amp on your guitar. And then you have an input on your amp. It'll literally say input underneath it. Like if you can't get an amp or need to wait, you can play unplugged, and it's completely okay. When I practice, I have a baby, so I always play unplugged. So it's not the end of the world if you can't get an amp right now. Yeah, first guitar lesson, just going over all the basics, and then usually for beginner guitar students, I will, everyone's just so different, so it's hard to say like what one thing to do, but before I go, I'm going to show you a riff, and it's the most generic one. You've probably seen it: Smoke on the Water, Sunshine of Your Love, Seven Nation Army. I'm going to play those riffs, and then I'm going to exit out because I got to go. But these are 3 riffs you could try out on guitar. I can put them up. So these numbers are just based off of your fret. So if I say like, if you see 0, that just means open. You have no hands on the fretboard. If you see 1, first fret, 2, second fret, so on. So I'll play Smoke on the Water, and I'm going to put the tabs up for you. So we'll start on our E string, our low E. And then you can slow this video down, but that's one riff. Another riff is going to start on your A string, your 5th string, on your 7th fret. So it's going to go. That's one riff. And then Seven Nation Army, you've probably seen. So yeah, so those are 3 riffs you could learn on guitar. Smoke on the Water is usually always when I teach first guitar lesson because it's just on your 6th string. And yeah, I try not to keep things too hard first guitar lesson. You want to, anyways, I'm going to wrap it up. Anyways, I got to go. Sorry, it's been a while. I hope you got something from this video. If you have any questions or any topics, let me know in the comments down below. And it was nice chatting with you, and I'll see you in the next one.